Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options in Play video update. So we're wrapping up the week with slower session. Looks like the summer Friday type trading action starting to settle in a little bit, right? And truthfully, that's just something us as traders, we as traders, we're just kind of anticipating at this time of year when there's not a whole lot of scheduled news. Things can slow down a little bit, so that's why it's really important to focus on those names that are in the news, right? Or what I've been trying to really drive home over the last like week, 2 weeks, in our last option session and just in like the nightly letters is how you kind of just need to keep risk tighter in these types of environments. Um, we had a couple great weeks of really wild action, but this past week is a little bit more of a reminder that when things tighten up, we are at like a typically quieter period time of the year. So you just gotta focus on the names that have news, tighter stops, tighter targets, and before you know it, we're gonna have some bigger events are gonna be here, and obviously earnings season will get going in like 3 weeks. So, um, but after all that rambling, we do have some bigger names this week, and Monday. Actually, nothing scheduled before or after the close. All right, and Tuesday before the open, there's actually not a single name scheduled as well. So literally not a single name Monday, all of Monday and Tuesday morning. Tuesday afternoon though is Adobe, and this is going to be one of the biggest. So it's actually not the largest market cap name, but definitely one of the biggest reports of the week. Looking for about 13 points. All right. Um, this is, it's a software stock. It's close to its 52-week high. It's been in a real steady uptrend for most of this year. Obviously, there was a little hiccup a couple weeks ago, um, but I mean, we know how these patterns have worked out, and honestly, it's one of these setups where it seems like these types of patterns in particular have been tougher to get rewarded on the upside. What's kind of even adding to that particular view is the fact that the last 2 quarters Adobe's closed red. All right, so the number has been pretty solid for the last year and a half, but the last 2 quarters it closed red. This quarter, a lot of software stocks had pretty good numbers and really didn't get rewarded for them. So, as much as like I like the name, and we've obviously traded this one in the past, right? It's a good stock when it moves. It's a good stock to trade, but going into earnings, unless there's like a significant drop Monday and or Tuesday or a significant rally, might just be like an avoid for earnings. Wait and see where it opens after trades the day after, and then if there's like a trade, if it gets down to the 100-day again or even the 200-day, maybe you can snag it for a quick trade for like a rebound. That's been like the MO with these software guys. All right. Um, you know what could maybe look at a calendar spread too, right? Maybe like sell near-term premium, buy longer-term premium, just to see if it stays in that trend. Like that's like a nice idea that could possibly be worthwhile too on Adobe. But other than that, probably won't try anything like very like short-term oriented. All right, Wednesday before the open, not really anything of interest. Just Winnebago is a smaller name, but to be honest, it hasn't really been too consistent of a mover recently. Um, and it's not a name I've traded very often in the past, so I don't have a lot of history with it. Um, so, you know, I probably won't do anything with it. It does seem that it's rebounded pretty nicely. Maybe you could put together a decent move higher, but just not a name I've had a lot of experience with. It's not a super consistent name on a report, so probably just something I'm gonna end up leaving alone. After the close, Oracle. So market cap wise, this is the biggest report of the week. 2.5 is what's priced in on Oracle. Uh, Last quarter, which was here, was one of the smaller moves that the stock had had. on earnings over the past 2 years and the past a year. That was about 2 points. And even going back a little bit further, volatility has been kind of tightening up a little bit on these quarterly reports. For a while, it was pretty volatile, but over the last like three quarters, it's been tightened up a bit. And over the last 3 quarters, that average has been about 2.5 points, and it's pricing in 2.5 points this coming week. So, just about spot on there. Um, it is hanging above longer term resistance. So if I go back a while, so you can see it's hanging. It is above like this longer term resistance area, right? But it doesn't look great one way or the other. It's about 2 points underneath the high from back at the end of April here. Had a pretty nice bounce off its 200-day. Um, you know, there may be maybe 3 points. It's possible. Like there have been some bigger moves, like I said in the past. Although recently it's been tightening up, but this is what I was talking about. Like there had been some like 4 to 5 point moves in this name prior, so some bigger swings prior to the last few quarters. Um, but I feel like this is one where if anything, maybe like a volatility strategy, but like more speculative, right? Like a little bit further out of the money, just because that hasn't really been a big mover over the last few quarters. But maybe if it reverts back to what it was doing earlier in 2018 or 2017, it could be nice just because the options only priced in 2.5, and some of those quarters it was in like the 4 to 5 point range. So maybe something speculative, a little bit further out of the money on Oracle. Thursday before the open, Darden, a restaurant stock. Pretty nice look to it. Coming off a good quarter, so here, and it's been in like a nice little consolidation right underneath the high from last September. So this reversal day was on an earnings report, and up until about a few weeks ago, it hadn't retested that high. Retested it, pulled back, but it's consolidating around 120. Coming off a good quarter, restaurant stocks just kind of in general have been acting really, really great. So they're looking at 6.5. That's the June straddle is about 6.5. It does seem like the numbers are good. Sector's been acting good. Chart looks good. Maybe you could see like a breakout, right? A breakout through 124, 125. Get a measured move, maybe into the 130s or 130 area. So thinking some sort of bullish strategy, maybe a call spread or straight call, depending on what the next few days or look like where the stock is, what the options are going into that. But something bullish is my thinking on Darden. Kroger, another one Thursday before the open. So they're pricing in 2 points, and what's interesting about Kroger is that there's only been one quarter out of the last six where it didn't exceed the price didn't move. All right, so that was back in December actually. So that was the only quarter out of the last six where it didn't exceed the price to move. So this thing has a very consistent history of pretty big moves actually. You wouldn't think of that as Kroger, very stable business, but it's actually a pretty consistent big mover. Um, it's got obviously a well-defined gap above, and it's actually sitting at a pretty big area of support, right? So it's sitting just above this big area of support, and it's got a lot of room underneath that. So, like I'd say you go with history on this, right? It has a pretty consistent history of big moves, of exceeding the priced in moves. It's pricing in 2 points. Seems to be visibility for maybe like three, possibly more. Gap above, like break support underneath. You could see maybe the low 20s. So it seems like there's visibility maybe like 3 to 4. Price into two has a history of exceeding the price to move. So some sort of volatility strategy like strangle or straddle. Thursday before the open, there's nothing scheduled, and Thursday after the close, Constellation CGC. So I know a lot of you guys are gonna be watching this one. This one gets a lot of interest. 375 is what's priced in, and it moved just about that last quarter. It was just about 375 when it reported last time. So the issue, I suppose, the issue with CGC is that it's kind of looking more weak from a technical perspective, right? So it's rolled over. and it's hanging above this key area of support right at 40. Right underneath that, there's like a ton of room lower. It's going to be well. I mean, they'll be reporting next Thursday after the close, so a lot can change over the next 3-4 sessions. But at the moment, it's below all near 2 moving averages, ruled pretty sharply off the high, and it's hovering above a really big area of support with like a ton of room underneath. So it seems as though the path of least resistance on this thing is lower. I don't have a strong opinion on it. It's not a name I've traded very often, but I feel like if I did anything, it would probably be some sort of speculative bearish bet because it seems as though if it does lose 40, it could be a really significant breakdown, and there's a ton of open room underneath this. Um, Plus, like the last time I had a big move on earnings, it got hit pretty sharply. That was like the last big move on earnings. So that was like over 6 point drop in November. So that's what I'm thinking with CGC. If it would need to get through like 45.50 to 46 to really look a lot better on the chart. So that's a little bit of a stretch versus we only need like a $2 drop to really crack significant support. And it could set up an even further move down. It's like the mid 30s. So I feel like if anything, it'd probably be a bearish bet. Friday before the open, so wrapping up the week, CarMax, and this to me might be the most interesting play of the week. So it's had a monster move since the last quarter. So this was last quarter earnings. It moved over 7 points last quarter, okay, and just since the last quarter where closed going into that report, it's up 20. That was 63. Now it's at 83. All right. It's pricing in 5 points this time around. It moved over 7 last quarter. It's up 20 since it last reported. And what's interesting is that it's actually right above a pretty significant long-term level, right? So it had this quick base and then it broke through it. And so now you got a stock that's like threatening like a 3-year breakout, right? It's up 20 points since last quarter. It moved 7 points last quarter alone. Short interest has been increasing into this move, so it's got several things indicating volatility expanding. The move is accelerating, working on a technical move, a technical breakout through three-year range, right? Options are pricing in a move below what it moved last quarter. So it just seems like there's several things indicating like this could be a big mover. So that to me says volatility strategy, so strangle or straddle, right? And this to me probably the most interesting play of the week. Which when you look at the names reporting, you probably wouldn't have thought so, but just the way things are lining up, the setup, the option pricing, just seems like there's a few things kind of like indicating that. All right, so that's that. Uh, not a ton of names, but some interesting names for sure. Plus, you get to FOMC on Wednesday. And before you know it, we're gonna have the G20 and earnings season will be here. So lots to look forward to. All right. So I hope you guys have a wonderful week. On a programming note, we got our option session coming up this Monday at 4:30 after the close. So I hope you guys can definitely stick around for that or catch that, just because always love the opportunities we get to talk shop, talk trading, talk options. Plus, there's a lot has happened since the last time we met, so there's a lot to go over. Right. So again, have a fantastic weekend, and I will talk to you guys all on Monday.